Hello, welcome to the morning news. I am your host, Taylor Schrum. And man, we've got some interesting developments. We'll go ahead and start over here on the sentiment outlook. And let's begin. So, we do have some good news on the federal funds rate front. It looks like it is more likely than not now that they will cut those rates in December. That is up to today, though. So, you have to take that with a grain of salt. This is betting odds after all. That's the first thing. It's not a certainty. But we've also just come out of a phase where it was neck and neck. It was 50-50. But the good news is that it has returned now to the odds being more likely for a 25 basis point decrease. So that's good. That's good. That's a win for today, for sure. That's really, really good. And hopefully that marks the end of some of the selling that we've been seeing with the ETFs. That's been a main driver of price to the downside, as folks who bought those ETFs from BlackRock and Fidelity did not do the majority of their research, and so they went ahead and sold. But if we go ahead and we look at a tweet this morning from Eric Bulkanis, there was an interesting development that he brought to everyone's attention, and that was this. Some ETF outflows. IBIT had the worst day of outflows ever yesterday, about $500 million. Ugly stretch, although year-to-date flows still at astronomical highs, 25 billion, sixth overall. And all told, 3.3 billion in total outflows in the past month from Bitcoin ETFs, which is 3.5% of the total AUM, I believe, of IBIT. So that is, that's not great, but it's also, Eric here is putting it into perspective. And as you can see here, we've had a prolonged stint of not exclusively outflows, but of outflows, right? We've had a couple of spikes here. One place that I can zoom in on some of this information is the link here. You guys can go check this out for yourself. It's called sosovalue.com. I believe it's a day delayed. So they don't give you the up-to-date information and you get to pay for it, but you get a day delayed information. So on my screen right now, you can see the XRP spot ETFs. They've had 1 day of neutral, I guess, but then 4 days of inflows. So that's pretty good for XRP. Not going to linger here on XRP too much because I don't track it all that much. If we looked at HBAR, HBAR's had generally very positive inflows with this, so that's good. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's a very loud aircraft flying over my house right now. It must have been flying extremely low. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that was so loud. All right. USET, so this is the Ethereum ETFs, right? And as you can see here, if I zoom in on it, we've had quite a prolonged stint of outflows here for Ethereum, right? And take for a second, this is the ETFs, right? These are people who are more risk intolerant, right? Meaning that they are probably older 401k type people and they're getting exposure to Ethereum and crypto for the first time, right? This is what they think of as high risk crypto play. They had some success with Bitcoin. They get into Ethereum. So, I just don't think that this is really the perfect fit for ETFs for kind of what the stock market is selling 401k holders today. That will obviously change. And I think that the tailwinds are good for Ethereum ETF in the future. But right now, it kind of makes sense that they're going to sell that off. Now, if we go to Bitcoin, right, we take a look here. First of all, you can see the overall data here for Bitcoin. You can see the premium to discount. You can see the 1 day net flows. You could see the 1 day outflows and inflows, net assets, all that good stuff. IBIT has 72 billion. The next biggest, Fidelity, has 18 billion. Grayscale has 15. Grayscale's really caught up. That's quite impressive. But anyway, this is all good data for you to know if you want. But this is a summation of it. is the daily total net out inflows yesterday for all of the ETFs was 372 million outflows, right? But we're still rocking out, as Eric points out, at 58 billion total net inflows over time, right? And this is what it looks like graphically, that information. I'll take myself off here for a second. Right, you can see this is the zoomed in part I was telling you about. Bitcoin's price is the orange line here. The white line is total net assets. And then you can see obviously the histograms or the inflows and the outflows. So, we want to see a change. We want this to be the bottom. We want this to confirm a bottom here, obviously, as Bitcoin holders. As investors that want to buy more, you want this to be the bottom, but I'm kind of sitting here looking at these charts and thinking maybe we're sideways for a good bit. And I think I am going to double down on the prediction that I put out the other day. Show you all this prediction. So I said Bitcoin and Ethereum will show a clear sign of bottoming soon. Equities will trade sideways and sell off as AI stocks reprice. And then a few weeks of this will trigger the asset class rotation as we get pulled into the Market Structure Act news cycle. We've got a lot of updates yesterday showing that we're probably not going to get passage of the market structure bill in 2025, right? I think there'll be one more little mini news cycle that kind of covers some. It seems like it's what it is merging of separate subcommittees within the Senate. They're going to merge what they've been working on to put a draft. But for the most part, the draft is kind of complete. They're just drilling in the details. But the political will is not there. They're going to try to pass something like this. They're going to push this to 2026. Not the end of the world, right? But I think that what that does is it makes crypto and Bitcoin probably sideways for a while, which is a trader's paradise, and it is an investor and accumulator's paradise, but it is not the paradise of someone who wants to get rich quick in crypto, right? And so for those of you, I think, are very few now because of what we've seen since October 10th, I don't think we have very many fly-by-night, looky-loo tourist types that are in crypto to get rich quickly. And that's where I wanted to I'll insert my thought for the day here. I will have to end at 10:30 pretty quickly. But my thought for the day is like happiness itself is fleeting. Good things that come to us in life are fleeting. We don't get to pick when good things happen. Take, for example, maybe a vacation that you've planned with your family. You get everything paid for, everything's planned, people got the time off they need, and everybody gets there. But something goes wrong. And all of that time that you put into having a happy moment with your family gets ruined. Hopefully you've never had something really terrible happen, but probably you've experienced this where you have a vacation or you've planned something special and it doesn't go according to plan. But then on the other side, maybe sometimes it's just a random weekend and all of a sudden, you get a call from your friend. And it's like, hey, I'm going to come by, jump in the car. Let's go see Metallica live or something like this. And you just totally unexpected the sun is shining through the clouds and it just blesses you out of nowhere. That's the way that I think you want to think about a volatile emerging asset class like cryptocurrency. I think a lot of folks got into crypto because of the huge movements that it's had in the past altcoin seasons. And we've been waiting, and a lot of people have entered the space and stayed in the space thinking that there's going to be a huge altcoin season. I'm here to tell you that if you plan for that altcoin season, you meticulously think you know when it's going to happen, you're probably going to be disappointed. 2025 has taught us a lot of things. If it's taught us anything, it's taught us that thinking you know when altcoin season is going to happen is just that's not how this is going to work, right? Now, I could talk a little bit about the 4-year cycles, how that rotates into altcoins and stuff like that, but I'll save that for another time. The point here is addressing all the emotions and the thought process, the mental health of the investors that are in our group here and that are watching on YouTube. Happiness will come, right? The reward will come. I'm confident in that because of what we're seeing in Washington, what we're seeing all around the world of adoption of this cryptocurrency. I'm going to show you guys some headlines today that are undeniably bullish, crazily bullish, right? But that does not mean that we just take off and go up and to the right. That has been the narrative. That has been the theme, the motif of 2025, is that just because things are the building fundamentals for crypto are indicative that an altcoin season should be coming soon, doesn't mean that that's how that works, right? So I'm here to tell you the clouds will part, the sun will shine through, and altcoin season of some semblance will happen, right? And really think about what that means. These assets, these tokens that exist in this digital economy, to the extent that they are close to the narratives that matter and that are actually going to be positioned to deliver value to the economy in the financial services industry, and to some extent that just the raw tech industry as well, they will be valued higher than they are today, right? They are undervalued, some of them incredibly overvalued at this point in time, right? One that would come to my mind is Chainlink, extremely undervalued. Another one, though, Ethereum. Ethereum, I think, is extremely undervalued for what it's about to be. I can make the argument Solana is too. Bitcoin, obviously undervalued. But right now, there's a bunch of macro situations, right? The things we do not control and the things that are hard to understand, how much they matter and at what times, and if they matter a lot, can there be other issues that matter more that can spring up and then leave, like the government shutdown, right? How much did the government shutdown really shield the M2 liquidity from pouring into crypto, right? And now that the government shutdown is over, is that liquidity flowing back into crypto? It doesn't seem like it. So where's that liquidity going? Where is it? Is it locked up somewhere? It's a bit of a mystery. It's a bit of a difficult thing to understand, right? But we don't get to control, just because we understand a lot of things about crypto, and we understand a lot of things about markets, we don't ultimately understand everything. We don't ever understand everything that there is to know. And even the smartest people who seem like they know it all, right? Somebody like James Flynn comes to mind. Some of these big superstar traders with these $1 million portfolios that they could show you on Hyperliquid and other transparent, leverage of the trading sites. They appear that they know exactly what they're doing. Jim Cramer also comes to mind. They appear that they know exactly what they're doing at times, but then they get wrecked later on. I don't think that anybody really knows exactly how to read these markets, but you have to take kind of the Warren Buffett, the tried and true perspective, which is the assets that are available for purchase today, all of them, crypto, equities, commodities, currencies, everything, real estate, which of these are going to be valued more in the future than they are today? Which of these the price will go up in the future more than the price is valued today? Cryptocurrency is in a period where it is extremely undervalued. Now, there's a world where cryptocurrency never goes up and has an insane euphoric phase again, right? I think that will happen, but there's a world where that just doesn't happen, where something gets in the way, something very big, God forbid, the China-US decoupling narrative is fully realized. I think that would be something that would kind of sap and drain global liquidity across the board. That would send a lot of investors into the hills, into the caves, hiding, right? That could potentially be very detrimental for global financial markets. A lot of de-risking would happen in that type of a scenario. I don't think that's going to happen because the rich want to get richer, right? They don't want to get poorer. And so ultimately, what I think we need to do as crypto investors is just be grateful that during this period we're able to accumulate undervalued assets that we believe are going to be valued higher tomorrow, valued higher in the future, not literally tomorrow. So that's what was kind of on my mind, and I was contemplating this morning, kind of thinking over, sifting through kind of the news. Let's take a look at that news now, and see if we can pick up some of those themes. During DevCon, Vitalik unveiled Kohanku, a modular privacy framework bringing opt-in privacy to Ethereum wallets, and possibly ZK-enabled browsers. Is this a nod or a threat to the privacy coins? You tell me. Very interesting development there. Make sure you go read our newsletter. This is out on Twitter at Tim Warren Trades. Go check that out. So that's our first headline. We already talked about the ETF flows. Let's keep moving. Huge headline here. This is awesome. New Hampshire approves and launches the first Bitcoin-backed municipal bond. I mean, this is just insanely bullish, right? Especially if this works out really well and it gets a lot of wind behind it. That's just so bullish. Even more bullish is this. The Basel Committee is rethinking its strict crypto rules. Currently, under Basel rules, financial institutions must apply a 1,250% risk weight to exposure of crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum on their balance sheet. So this de-incentivizes, because of how much collateral you have to have, or how much you have to count it as risked weight, right? This is unfavorable for major banks to hold this on their balance sheet. We got a headline last week or maybe the week before from SoFi Bank saying that they're the first nationally chartered bank to offer crypto trading, right? Now, they're not bringing crypto onto their balance sheet with that type of an announcement, but they are offering trading as a chartered bank, right? So you see the big institutions slowly encroaching and accepting more and more cryptocurrency into the systems that build them. And I'll tell you this, as more and more crypto illiterate folks of the baby boomer generation and the X generation, obviously, if you're a part of that and you're listening to the sound of my voice, you are not crypto uneducated, but there's a lot of people that are just drones working in large financial institutions and financial adjacent industries that just you couldn't get them to research crypto and understand what blockchain is for $1 million, literally, because they are so rich that they don't want to learn anything new. They're so good at importing and exporting cement substrates and prerequisite materials that why do they want to learn anything else? They're in their late 50s, they're in their early 60s. They don't want to learn new stuff, right? Because they're so wealthy, they've got 5 investment properties, whatever it is. They don't want to learn new stuff. And look, when I'm that age, and when a lot of people that age, that might be me too. I might not be wanting to learn about the new teleportation technology that the kids are into, right? I just want to stay in my lane and trade crypto or whatever I'll be doing. Playing golf, probably too. But the idea is that these big institutions are being replaced by younger generations of people who not only are crypto educated, but they're crypto native. They grew up, and I'm not talking about in America necessarily, but they grew up, especially in Nigeria, Argentina, a lot of South American countries, certainly a lot of Asian countries. Crypto was their first language, right? They never really touched too much fiat. They touched a lot of stable coins to pay for things. Anyway, so these are the types of people that are going to be in positions of power later on. Okay. Right now, it's the people who they have no incentive to learn what crypto and blockchain is because they're super rich already, right? Those are the people that are in power today. This type of a headline speaks to me that those incentives are starting to change as the demography of people in these positions of power change as well. Okay. With change brings more change, second order change. So that's all bullish, extremely bullish. It doesn't get higher than the Bank of International Settlements, by the way. The Basel Committee, this is the highest. Think about United Nations, interstate dispute settlement, all this kind of stuff. It doesn't get any higher than this, right? Elon doesn't have some space financial court that is arbitrating at a higher level than the Basel committee. This is it. This is where the buck stops. And they're not looking to ban Bitcoin or limit crypto. They've already done that, right? They're moving now in the opposite direction post Biden, right? Post anti-crypto administration in China and the United States. They are thawing their regulation. Pointing this out for you all. Hopefully, it's not spending too much time on stuff you guys already know. Okay, so back to my prediction a little bit here, right? I think that today is one of those days where the door can be opened for crypto for AI stocks to go ahead and start to get repriced. Now, this doesn't mean that I think that the AI narrative is over. Far from it, right? AI is obviously here to stay. If I was to question AI and be like bearish on it as a technology and as a economic force, I would be very dumb, in my opinion, right? So I think that this is a very big thing. It's not going to go away. NVIDIA is not going to go away. NVIDIA will probably outlast us all if they don't figure out health tech that gets us to infinite life, whatever. NVIDIA, Tesla, these are the companies of the future. They're not going anywhere. NVIDIA and Walmart report earnings today. This could be the beginning of a repricing for AI stocks. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but this could also be the beginning of the rotation out of AI stocks and into crypto, right? Starting with Ethereum and Solana and Bitcoin, obviously, but I think that that is going to happen over a period of time. The door is open for that to happen. Doesn't mean that investors are going to go through that door, but I believe that the door is open right now. How the market interprets these NVIDIA earnings is going to be very interesting. I'm not going to try to preview that stuff for you guys because what the market's going to care about is going to be a panoply of things, a cornucopia of things, a variety of things within what the earnings are for NVIDIA. And so I'm not going to try to say what they care about the most because we're about to find out in the next 24 hours. And certainly into early next week, we'll find out, is this the beginning of a repricing for AI stocks? And where is that liquidity likely to go? I'll tell you, where that liquidity is likely to go is the next best low risk, high reward thing, right? And you have to ask the question, is there something else out there? I think there is. There is another narrative that is low risk, high reward, and it's not crypto, right? So crypto has competitors still, even outside of AI, and that's the second order AI industrial stocks and pharmaceutical stocks. So Jordy Vischer, he's an analyst that we talk about quite a bit. He has made it clear, and he's kind of brought forward some interesting thesis. I want to just say this quickly because this is an alternative to where the liquidity is going to rotate from stock AI stocks. My preference, right? If I could control the clouds and when the sun shines through to my asset class, my preference would be that all the liquidity rolls out of NVIDIA into crypto because I don't have any NVIDIA anymore. But that's obviously not going to happen. It's not going to happen like that one to one. Who is going to get the rotation? It's going to be who can dominate the media, who can dominate the attention at the front end, bring investors into research, whatever that is, whether it's the pharma play through AI. Hey, we're Novo Nordisk, we're Pfizer, we're Moderna, we're Abivax, and we just have been working with AI for the last 6 months, and we've developed anti-cancer drugs. We've cured cancer, right? We've cured Alzheimer's. We've cured obesity. And their stocks are going to go higher, right? They're also going to say, hey, by the way, we cured cancer and we did it with 80% less researchers and 80% less resources. What is that? Reducing costs, increasing margins. That's what AI is on schedule to do. But that doesn't necessarily enrich NVIDIA, which is already trading extremely high to its book, right? Or it may not enrich the AI pure plays, but it could start to enrich, again, the second order AI plays. So we're keeping that in mind. We're understanding that crypto is not the only game in town when it comes to underbought asset classes that haven't been able to see upside because AI pure plays have been stealing the show. The hyperscalers, the core weaves, right? The data center builders, the energy inputs for the data center builders, all of those are kind of overbought, and they're in this classification of AI bubble. Bubble's a word. I don't have to agree with it, but it does kind of nicely package what the concept is. The bubble will pop, a repricing will happen, and where does that money fall? Gold's very high. Does it go into bonds? Does it go into emerging markets is another popular narrative right now with TradFi? Or does it go into pharmaceutical to kind of front run these pharma plays announcing cures because they have this new technology that reduces costs and cures these things that they've never been able to cure before? We'll see. I'd like to say that crypto has a pretty nice claim to the next news cycle, right? And that's because of the Market Structure Act. And it also has to do with the midterms and what the carrots that Donald Trump has kind of kept behind his back of the Bitcoin strategic reserve and the crypto strategic reserve, right? There's a strong argument. Well, first, let me start with this. Cryptocurrency lobbyists have double the amount of money that they had last year to spend in Washington. Now, lobbying is a dirty, rotten, ucky, yicky game in Washington and around the world. However, it's effective. And if you want to get reelected in your district in Ohio, Texas, Massachusetts, whatever it is, you got to accept money from lobbyists, right? Or you got to just be super popular. But you also, if you reject money from lobbyists, from crypto lobby in this case, what's stopping them from running a candidate against you who's a hot blonde chick, right? that or a super smart whatever programming chick, like whatever it is. Money is going to go influence that which is keeping money from growing. Okay, just in philosophical terms, cryptocurrency is the new money. There are institutions that are set to lose from that transition, and so they are lobbying actively members of the Senate, Elizabeth Warren, but also state actors as well, state elected officials, to try to keep crypto at bay. But the reality is that it's only going to work for so long. We're kind of stuck in the middle because we don't have a super clear timeline of when this Market Structure Act is actually going to pass and when Donald Trump is going to reveal the carrots that he's been dangling and which ones are actually going to get put out. The $2,000 stimulus, another dangling carrot from the Trump administration, right? The passage of the Genius Act already happened. That's a foregone conclusion. That's good, but it's good for stablecoins. They don't go up, right? It's good for a certain group. But then you have the Market Structure Act. That's going to be the big one, and that's going to be the one that I think is going to be able to divert some attention and some investment dollars away from these other sexy next best narratives to the big one, which is the AI stocks, right? So when that sells off, when that reprices, it's going to flow into pharmaceuticals, absolutely. It's going to flow into emerging markets, absolutely. And then there's going to be probably 8 more arguments of where it should flow into, but crypto will be among them. And there will be a strong political movement in the next 3 to 6 months because of the midterms. And there will also be a strong bill that is set to define how trade can be managed in the United States. I'm going to leave it there. Hope you all had a great day. No charts today. We'll do some charts tomorrow. Have a good one. Adios.